More music in the morning with Nic Harcourt and Jet. It's the National with Blood Buzz, Ohio. And it brings us to 9:43 on a Wednesday morning. It's January 29th, 2025. I'm Nick. Jet is here as well. We have a guest in studio this morning. First time I've met him, Mr. Jim Kerr. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you both.
Yeah,
thanks for having me in.
My pleasure. Thank you for making the drive out to Northridge this morning.
Yeah. Pleasure.
Yeah. I want to talk about this tour, but I also want to talk a little bit more about the band and the history of the band, because I've been alive long enough to remember when you guys first started out. I was living in the UK at the time. I left there in '82. I told you '83 to go to Australia. But tell us a little bit about before Simple Minds, because you were in a punk band first time out, right?
We were in a punk band. I mean, the origins of Simple Minds begins in Holyrood School in Glasgow, which we did our first gig in January 17, and 4 of the guys on stage that night were in the same class at school.
That's amazing.
So it goes back even before the punk days. We were in a glam rock band called Biba Rom.
Glam.
Heck yeah.
And we did one gig, and it was awful, but there was something about it.
Did you have the gear on? Did you have like the satin gear on and the
satin bomber jacket?
Yeah, man.
Clogs.
That's the stuff.
Mascara, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? If you didn't have that, you were weird.
That was the stuff that sort of turned me on to music, to be honest with you. Up until then, it was my parents' music, which fortunately was the Beatles. But when I saw, David Bowie and Mark Bolan and all that kind of stuff, I was like, whatever that is, I want some of that.
Well, the first ticket I bought for a gig was 60 pence. What would that be in dollars?
Gosh. I don't know, $1.
$1,
maybe, wow.
For none other than David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust tour, who was playing a matinee. There's an old-fashioned word.
Oh, yeah.
A matinee.
Early show. In LA, everybody wants matinees, because, nobody likes to go out late at night anymore.
So, Bolan and Bowie, Steve Harley, they were the people that got us into it.
So out of glam and then into punk and then into Simple Minds.
Yeah, well, I mean, out of glam, a lot of hitchhiking around Europe. Back in those days, now you can fly for $2.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, we were, for those who don't know, saying earlier, we're from Glasgow, Scotland, and a friend of mine at the time, how cute is this? He had moved to London. And very dear, he sent a letter saying, you got to come and see this thing called the Sex Pistols.
Oh, wow.
It plays in our local pub, and you'll just love it. And it just so happened where it was just as we were leaving school, actually, just that year kind of. And we thought, we got to hitchhike down to see this. But the lifts went so well.
I used to hitchhike around as well. Sometimes you got there quickly, sometimes it took a day.
Okay, the bad news is we didn't see the Sex Pistols because the lifts went so good.
Oh, wow.
We ended up in Paris where Patti Smith was playing.
Awful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like the world just seemed you stuck out your thumb. Possibilities were endless.
Yeah.
And, our passion for music and we just putting it all together. Wouldn't it be great to see the world? We knew we wanted to travel. The idea of being in a band that could tour and do it. You had more chance, where we were from, you had more chance of being an astronaut. You would have got that odds from the bookies because no one had ever done it. But we were hell-bent. And how lucky were we? This thing, punk, came along where every kid in Britain or every kid of our generation, they were either starting a band or starting a fanzine or making films or starting their own fashion label. It was almost like, a year before people had said you were mad. And then it was like you'd be mad not to try one of these things.
It was a very interesting time politically as well, obviously, over in the UK. We're peers. I think we're around about the same age. So I remember that time, late 70s, when things were a little dodgy over there. Thatcher was in power or just about to come to power. There was a big reaction with punk against the establishment at the time. Is that what you felt as well?
I think, Glasgow, working class. I think, to be honest, we were so we were into books, we were into art, that was our escape, really. I mean, for sure, we were brought up with the values of the community. And I have to say, as much as I say we were keen to get out and escape to see the world, we also loved the world we grew up in. I mean, Glasgow was fantastic. But it was a bit monochrome.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. And as soon as I live in Italy now, I tell people, I went on a school trip. I don't know how my mum and dad managed to cobble the money together.
Yeah.
And when we got off the plane, I was 14, and I was like, "Wow, the world's in colour." I didn't know the world was in colour because Glasgow was not in colour.
I kind of felt like that when I escaped as well. You know,
Yeah.
talking of Glasgow and talking of Holyrood. So last night I went to see Travis, who were playing in LA.
Man, he went to Holyrood. How do you know that?
Well, because I was talking to him this morning. I
Fran,
said, Fran Healy. I was like, we've got Jim Kerr on today. And he was like, oh, we went to the same school. A little bit apart, obviously, but went to the same school.
What a great writer he is.
Oh, fantastic. And the show was amazing. And incidentally, he told me that Dougie, who plays bass in the band, his very first show was you guys at Parkhead, Celtic Stadium.
Oh, was it?
Sometimes in the 80s.
Wow,
yeah.
Wow. Yes, I mean, a lot of people came out of, people in Lloyd Cole were at Holyrood, people in Texas.
Love that band.
Altered Images.
Yep.
And people always say, did it have a great music department? It didn't have any music department.
Yeah.
It had nothing, but perhaps, you know, once one group's done it, it inspires the others to think, game on, and why not?
Before we talk about the tour, I want Jet to come in, because when we talked yesterday about you coming in, she was like, "Oh my God, that was the first record I stole from her mom."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't lift it from like a record shop or anything, but my mom had, you know, don't you forget about me,
All right.
the 7-inch, and so when I got my turntable for the first time when I was a teen, the first record that I stole was the 7-inch single, Don't You Forget About Me. Yeah, I made sure to steal that one because that was my fave.
But you gave it her back, so
I
you
did.
couldn't
gave
bring it in today for a signature, unfortunately.
When I finally moved and left my parents' place, I did the right thing and I gave them back all the music that I stole from them. So I gave her back the record.
Well, that's
So
good.
I didn't have it anymore, but I wanted to bring it in, but I didn't have it anymore. So sad.
If we talk about the hits and the 80s, I mean, like, there's such a long list. We'd be here for the next 10 minutes just going through the catalog. But, you know, hits like Don't You Forget About Me, and obviously, you know, some of those songs in the early days, like Waterfront, Alive and Kicking, of course. Those songs are still played everywhere. And I'm guessing that gives you a little bit of currency to be able to continue to get out there and perform and to tour. And we want to talk about this tour because it's your first one in the States for, what, 6 years, 7 years?
That's right, yeah. Unfortunately, the last time we were through 6 years ago went real great, and everything was prime, but then COVID and all of that. So we just did 5 months of touring last year, went great. And we were here in May last year, and we played in Pasadena at the Cruel World.
Right.
So good.
And we were blown away. We had no, you know, because there was a lot of great music on over those days, and we thought, you know, there'll be some people happy to see us, but we turned up, and half an hour before we went on, the crowd in front of the stage it just blew us away. So we were hoping, albeit that was only one gig, we thought, let's see what the reaction is. And it's so great that we're getting a chance to come back and tour extensively throughout the States. As you say, those songs, well, different generations, as you've just been commenting there, and even young kids now still seem to tune into those songs. I guess they're evergreens or whatever, but you know, we're blessed to have them.
Talking of Fran again, he was telling me, okay, so we have to go and see. He and I are going to come and see you. It's May 22nd.
Yep.
Fran lives here now, does he?
Yeah, he is.
All
He's
right,
in LA.
yeah.
He's been here a while.
Great.
Like a decade, I think. And
I have to say, their new record blew me away.
It is really good.
But, you know,
LA
lot of great
Times.
music, but really fantastic. I mean, first 3 kind of lead tracks, it was like one after the other. I was like, That's so great.
The guy can write a song.
Really?
That's for sure. So anyway, May 22nd at the Forum. And for those of our listeners who are living a little out towards the desert, you'll be in Palm Springs the day after at the Acrisure Arena, I think it is. And before we bounce, we're going to play another song, but we've got to talk a little bit of football before we get out of here. So
what a coincidence.
What a coincidence. I looked it up this morning and I was like, oh, he supports Celtic. And for those of you who don't, understand soccer or the European Champions League, I'm sorry, but we're going to talk about it for 2 minutes. So you're from Glasgow. There's two real teams in Glasgow, Glasgow Celtic and Glasgow Rangers. Yeah. You support Celtic. When I was a kid, supporting Aston Villa in Birmingham, out of the two teams in Birmingham, the rivalries are incredible, right, between Celtic and Rangers and Villa and Birmingham City. We had to pick a Scottish team as well. So I was like, I like the guys with the green stripes. So Celtic is your team.
Yeah.
And Celtic are playing Aston Villa today.
That's right.
In the Champions League.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means to you and to Celtic fans to be right on the... Well, I think you've actually qualified for the next part of the Champions League, right?
Celtic have, the first time in, I think, 10 years they've qualified. I mean, for those who don't know, Celtic are in the Scottish League.
Right.
It's a much smaller league, so they don't have the big money, really, to compete with the giant European clubs. But they're doing it.
They're doing good
just
with,
now.
Brendan Rodgers back in manager's seat.
But as you were saying earlier, it is a kind of umbilical cord. Probably the same as you, but my family's been going to see Celtic since the day the club was formed. Wow. I mean, it goes way. It's like my granddad used to talk about his uncles taking them, and the club's been going for 120 years now. And in Glasgow, you're just told that's your team.
Yep.
And it is. I mean, the rivalry is strong, but only on the day of the game, really. Of
course.
I mean, we were brought up. Our pals are Rangers fans and Celtic fans, and you get on house and fire until the day of the game.
Yeah.
Where it all gets a bit
tribal.
Yes.
Just a bit.
And then when it's done, you have bit of a slagging match with each other, especially if you've won.
Yeah.
And that maybe goes on for a week.
Well, especially like on the Monday when everybody's going back to work. Like if your team has lost, like you're in trouble.
But we've got actually one of them's injured. He's not playing just now. But we have two American players in midfield just now. So it's quite a Japanese players as well.
What's his name? He's good. I saw him playing the other day. Yeah.
He just got transferred.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I know.
Bummer.
I know. But we have another two.
All right. So
there's a real international setup.
I know you're going to be riding around today. You're doing Kimmel Live tonight, right?
We are, yes.
Fun.
And I know you're going to be trying to tune into the game. It's on Paramount Plus. Villa versus Chelsea. Celtic. Sorry, I cursed there for a moment.
Shall we predict? You got a prediction? Come on.
You first.
Honestly, I think because Celtic have already qualified and they've got a few injuries, I think it'd be a step too far today. And Villa are good.
I'm going 3-0 Villa.
I don't think that's out of the question.
I think it's hopeful, but
being a Celt, I'll go 3 each.
It is so good.
We'll let you off.
So good. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's 3 each, then
be a good game.
We got a couple more games to play. But
yeah.
Jim Kerr, thank you for coming in and hanging out with us this morning.
My pleasure. And regards to everyone. Simple Minds fans out there, looking forward to seeing you all.
Kimmel tonight, May 22nd at the Forum, Palm Desert, May 23rd at the Acrisure Leisure Centre, and you've got Soft Cell out on the road with you as well, right? And who else?
Yeah, and also Modern English.
Modern English.
Yeah. Should be fantastic. Me and Fran will see you there in a couple of months.
Look forward to that.
Thanks, man. We're going to leave with Alive and Kicking, which is an appropriate song to finish with. At the top of the hour, Julie will hang out with you for the rest of the afternoon. Until the next time, be kind, be safe, and keep it simple. Ta-ta for now. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.